Good evening to all of you, and thank you for joining us here on 13 Plus. I'm Mary Coleman, joined by 13 First Alert Chief Meteorologist Aaron Christensen. And Aaron, you're wearing the perfect color because that is exactly how it feels outside today.
Kind of like an ice blue.
Yes,
Yeah,
icy.
a little bit. Yeah, we have had some hail, we've had some mountain snow, we've had rain, sleet in some spots.
Wow.
So yeah, I guess you're right. It's kind of apropos. Didn't realize that I had planned it that way. I didn't really. But I'm happy to say that we did break that dry spell that we had going for
All right.
87 days now. So this is a pretty big deal, although the rain total probably not overwhelming. 1/10 of an inch so far for Tucson at our official recording site at the airport. We do know that other places saw upwards of almost 1/4 of an inch of rain. Here are just a few of the totals that I could round up kind of quickly here from the Pima County Flood Control site. Continental Reserve today received 1,600ths of an inch. Christopher Columbus Park, 1,200ths. Tangerine Sky Park, 1,200ths as well. Places like Tucson Estates, up near First Avenue at River, and in the Marana area, about 800ths of an inch. And we're not quite finished with it just yet, but I did want to point out that even with this 1/10 of an inch of rain, we are still in the driest time frame from August 9th through today that has been recorded at least since 1946. So we've needed the rain, but we're still far behind where we should be. We do have a chance we'll tack onto that total yet tonight in the Tucson area and much of Pima County at about 50%. That will likely take us through 10 to 11 p.m. And then after that, it's going to trail off to a slim 10% chance for rain. 50% chance still in Marana, 40 in Sells, 50 in Sassabee and Green Valley. Some of that rain is changing over to snow already across the Benson, Tombstone, and Sierra Vista areas. It's been a chilly one indeed. Our high only making it to 52. That is the coldest high temperature Tucson has recorded since February 10th of 2024. So the coldest daytime temperature in nearly a year. But we're going to see a rapid change in the opposite direction. Our storm system moving out, ridge of high pressure moving in. That is quickly going to warm us up. Even though that high won't be directly over Arizona, it's still going to have an influence on our temperatures here starting the next couple of days, taking us through the middle of next work week. Tomorrow, still below normal in the upper 50s, but Friday, back to almost normal, 69 degrees, and then the mid to upper 70s Saturday, and then the 80s return Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Monday and Tuesday specifically, we are going to have daily records threatened. Monday's 85 would be just 1 degree shy of tying a record set back in 1925, and Tuesday's 85, if that comes to fruition, would break the old 84-degree record from 100 years ago. In the short term tonight, Tucson dipping to almost freezing, 33 degrees. And then tomorrow we warm to 59, still quite chilly. That's 9 below the normal mark for Tucson. 58 in Marana, 54 the high for Benson, 54 Sierra Vista, 51 in Bisbee, and 57 tomorrow in Nogales. There's your 13 First Alert 7-day forecast. So hard to believe that we're talking 50s, we're talking snow today, and then we're talking record heat just a few days later as we head through early next week. So it's definitely going to be a warm start to February.
It's not April Fool's, we promise you all.
No, definitely not.
Thank you, Aaron.
Certainly.
Well, we will have your up-to-date forecast coming up on 13 News Live at 10, along with your news headlines. But as promised, let's talk about our story for this evening. Let's talk about a family. They are considered the country's first serial killer family. The Bloody Benders are believed to be responsible for multiple murders for which they were never caught. Our national investigative team explains how researchers are turning back the clock to learn more about them.
If you love mystery, history, and a little bit of mayhem, you may be a fan of true crime.
A 2024 poll found 57% of Americans consume true crime content. It also found women consume more true crime than men, and it's more popular among younger generations.
A group of researchers is hoping to learn more about a true crime tale that goes back in time.
The Bloody Benders are said to have committed several murders and were never caught.
Reporter Zach Summers shows us how some are combing through the history of the country's first serial killer family.
They disappeared more than 150 years ago. Still, to this day, their murderous deeds continue to fascinate. This is the story of the Bloody Benders and the ongoing effort to unearth new details about America's first serial killer family.
I'm Lee Ralph, the author of Hell Comes to Play.
Kansas native Lee Ralph first learned of the Benders in school, but only recently started digging into the family's history.
I just love mysteries in general.
His new book reveals new secrets about the family of four, including tracing their lineage back to Germany before their devilish spree in Labette County in the early 1870s.
We really don't know why they came to Kansas.
It was inside this cabin along the Osage Mission Trail in southeastern Kansas. John Bender Sr., his wife, their son John Jr., and daughter Kate are said to have carried out their devious acts.
I think something happened while they were out there on the prairie. I think something triggered.
Kate, a spiritualist, would distract guests stopping in for a meal or goods. Waiting behind a curtain that divided the cabin, another family member. They would bludgeon the victim across the head with a hammer, ultimately slitting their throat for the victim to bleed out in the cellar below.
It may have started in pure robbery and then morphed into something a bit more twisted.
It's believed the Benders would have continued their twisted reign of terror had they not killed a prominent doctor and brother of a Kansas state senator.
When Dr. York went missing, he was somebody to be missed. His brother, the senator, he had the wherewithal to perform a thorough search.
That extensive search wouldn't lead to justice. The Benders were long gone before a search of their property uncovered up to 8 bodies, all men buried naked, face down, one with an infant daughter who was likely buried alive.
So as long as you keep your walls nice and straight. My name is Lauren Norman. I'm an assistant teaching professor at the University of Kansas.
Dr. Laura Norman is leading a group of KU archaeology and anthropology students, excavating a site believed to be the Bender homestead. They're trying to find evidence of where the house was and other materials that might fact-check some of the myths surrounding the elusive family.
It's never been looked at through a scientific lens, the material culture, the things they left behind, and so we're hoping to add a little bit to the story.
Color, white.
The team has already found pieces of pottery, glass, a horseshoe, and parts of a tin can. Norman says it's a slow process.
10 days of digging is going to give us 10 months of analysis work. We won't really get a good understanding of them until we take them back to our lab.
What do you think that would lead to?
An understanding Bob Miller has a vested interest in.
I'm Bob Miller, the property owner of the Bender Farm.
Miller bought the 160-acre property in 2020 with the sole purpose of learning more about the Benders and their victims.
Are there even other bodies out here? Just huge intrigue.
He's hoping the mystery might also spur tourism to southeastern Kansas.
We're just getting a lot of interest from all different sources. What the Benders did it and how they did it and what happened to them, where'd they go?
While we may never know the end to the infamous Bloody Benders, Lee says it's that mystery that has kept their story alive well over a century and counting.
I just have a feeling there's so much more that we don't know about them. The archaeological dig out there. I think that it is just the stepping stone for further research.
After the Benders escaped, Kansas's governor offered a $2,000 reward for their arrest. That's more than $50,000 in today's money. There are multiple theories about what happened to the Benders, but none have been proven.
When it comes to true crime, we want to go in depth on how consuming the genre can affect our mental health. Clinical psychologist Dr. Dorian Lamus says for some, true crime content could act similarly to cognitive behavioral therapy. CBT helps patients understand the root of a stressor and determine a strategy to combat the source of a mental health issue.
PTSD patients or people who have experienced a traumatic event, so they are, being re-exposed to the traumatic event, which in turn lessens their responses.
However, for others, it could have the opposite effect. Dr. Lamus says excessively consuming dark stories can increase anxiety, worsen mood, and disrupt sleep.
Well, friends, we hope you've had a great evening, and once again, will join us for 13 News Live at 10 for more of your news and weather. Have a great evening.